Hello and welcome to one more wonderful night with us. We're grateful that you can be here. I'm Cynthia.
I'm Mark.
And we are here to help you unravel some questions that you may have in your mind surrounding certain types of behaviors that are probably stopping you from reaching your best potential. And we'd like to start it out right with you today and help you learn those things. So Mark, it's your ballpark tonight. Let's see.
All right.
How,
well,
what we get to learn.
Let's get the slides going here. Great to be with you tonight.
Just pause. Great. So now I'm going to turn the time over to Mark and we'll get right into this next wonderful best 30 years thing that we're going to talk about.
Okay, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight. We are excited to talk about this topic today of mastering the twin powers of self-forgiveness and gratitude. And let's get it going here. So as we've been talking, it seems like week after week we talk about how the challenges that people are facing, and we all hope it's getting better. And at this point in time, as we're speaking to you today, it seems like there are just more and more challenges that come up all around. And so we find ourselves sometimes looking in the mirror, and here are the questions. As we look at ourselves in the mirror, is that image that we see in the mirror, is that really you? Or is it a bent or distorted image? And are there things that you can be grateful for about you as you look at yourself in the mirror? Do you forgive yourself and let go when things don't work out? Humor is a really important part of what a coping mechanism for us all. And so leaving room to laugh and even laugh at ourselves when things don't go just right is really important. And this is one of the favorites for the ladies usually. Is there an escape hash to go and pamper yourself? Go to the spa, go get an aroma touch.
Now, wait just a minute. Guys and their golf. Come on.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's the same thing.
That's true. No question. Okay, so to get started here, I'm going to give you two words. And as I give you these words, I'd like you to think about the first thing that comes to your mind. And you can text it to us, chat it to us, or you can shout it out, or you can just think about it. But think about the first thing that comes to your mind when I give you these words. Here's the first word: forgive. First thing that comes to your mind.
I thought yourself.
Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did.
Very good. Excellent.
Good for me.
Okay. Here's the second word.
Oh, there we go.
You kind of answered that one already. Okay. Think about those answers. As we talk to a lot of people and work through some of these things, these are the typical answers or the kind of mindset that we come across. First of all, it usually includes these types of words. Well, we should forgive, we ought to forgive, or we're told that we must forgive. So that's often in the mix of what people talk about. Sometimes people say, you should forgive everyone, or you ought to forgive everyone. So that's a common answer. We also come across often those words evoke a specific person or a group of people. We should forgive a person who has offended us, or a group of people, or a social thing that's happening. We should forgive those people. But unlike Cynthia, who came up with yourself, we very rarely hear people talk about, I should forgive me, or forgiveness applies to me. And that's an interesting thing. We're very good about thinking about forgiving others, but we often don't turn it inward and think about forgiving ourselves. That in many cultures, and in the culture that we are in ourselves, there's often a religious overtone to it that has to do with sin. And people, when we talk about forgiveness, it's often equated with sin, right? And the interesting thing about sin is, if you go back to the original Greek meaning of sin, hamartia, it actually means to barely miss the mark, as in archery. So the original word wasn't the connotation that we have today of something that's like terrible, awful, horrendous, but in the original meaning, it was to barely miss the mark. So what happens in our culture today because of that, because it's flip-flopped, we get into this negative self-talk thing going on, and we all make mistakes, right? We all sin, if you will, but we take this, I made a mistake, and with all the negative self-talk, the bottom line is it turns into, I am a mistake. And even though we don't ever, most of us don't think about it that way, but if we listen to our language, we make a mistake, and then we get into the loop that we've talked about earlier, about, oh man, I'm so, why did I do that? That was really a ridiculous thing to do, and if I only would have, and we get into this negative loop. And the bottom line is, what we're saying is not that I made a mistake, but that I am a mistake. And we just reinforce it over and over and over again with all this negative self-talk. So here's a thing to think about. Here's something for you to try. And I invite you to consider self-forgiveness, for turning that around, looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself, I love me. And think about it in the terms of, not that I made this a terrible mistake, but think about it in the terms of, wow, I just barely missed. Yay me! Look how close I was. Look how much effort I put into that. Look how close I was to getting to what I was really trying to do.
It's so funny because,
Yeah.
when it comes to like little children, we never think about, oh, you only stood up for 1 second. Instead, you grabbed the phone and start recording and said, he stood up for 1 second. He's going to walk tomorrow. So, and then the little person's so excited. Everybody's just thrilled. That's barely missing it, right? But we're really saying, not just we're barely missing it, we're saying you made it, you did it.
Yeah. And we can always say, well, I could have done better, but we just don't we don't cut ourselves any slack and just say, yeah, I didn't make it up, but I barely missed, yay me. The other part of forgiveness is forgiving others. And this is another one of those things where we talked earlier about, we often feel like, well, I ought to forgive, we should forgive, we must forgive others. And while that's important, forgiving others is actually, if you think about it, it's actually an act of self-love. So both forgiving ourselves is an act of self-love, but forgiving others is, in actuality, an act of loving yourself. And here's why. Because a lot of times we say, and I've thought, when I've been deeply, deeply hurt, and I've been struggling with this forgiveness thing, I say, well, yeah, that was so terrible what they did. They don't deserve to be forgiven. I know I'm supposed to forgive them, but they just don't deserve it. Look at what they did. And here's the interesting twist on that. Think about this idea. We forgive others not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because we love ourselves so much that we refuse to keep paying for the injustice.
Just think about that over and over again. You're doing, if you don't forgive, You're just keeping them, they've moved on, but you are stuck in that over and over and over again.
Yeah. And so you are empowering them to have control over you, not feeling and continuing to feel the pain and anguish and hurt of that injustice, whatever it was. So yeah, maybe they don't deserve it, but you deserve to love yourself enough to let it go and forgive so that you can move on and not keep paying for that injustice. Okay, here's another word I'd like you to think about. When I say the word gratitude, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? A lot of people wonder, so gratitude for what? What should I be grateful for? And for most of us, it's pretty easy to be grateful for wonderful things and beautiful things that come into our lives. And it's very healthy and very nice to have that as a part of our lives. But here's another thought. What about the things that caused you pain? When I was working with my life coach at one point, I was going through some painful things. And one day he said, I was talking about these things that had happened to me and how painful it was. And he looked at me and he said, so what can you be grateful for in that? And I was just like dumbfounded, like, why? Why would I be grateful for what just happened to me? But over time, I came to understand the power in not only being grateful for the positive things in my life, but also finding gratitude in those things that cause me pain. And the best summary that I've come up with is a really wonderful little poem by a poet many years ago named Kabil, who talked about, he said, I had to see the physician because of all the pain that the world caused me. And to my surprise, when I got there, I had not only found the physician, but I found the teacher. And the teacher said to me, are you up for a little homework? And I said, yes. And he said this to me. This was what he suggested. Try thanking all the people who caused you pain. They helped you come to me. And when I heard that and thought about it, it just hit me so deeply that all of the pain and the challenges that had happened to me were actually the things that brought me either to a physician, to a teacher, to a mentor, to somebody who could give me more enlightenment and more support. Or those were the things that actually opened my understanding and helped me to see life differently and see myself differently and find a more productive path in dealing with those relationships. So another invitation is be grateful, but look at both sides of gratitude. Be grateful for the beautiful, wonderful things and relationships you have in your life, but also take a minute to think about and find gratitude in those things that maybe caused you pain, or those people or those relationships that caused you pain, because I promise you that you will find hidden gems in that exercise. Okay, Cynthia, you have some ideas to share with us here.
So let's go backtrack a little bit on that one.
Okay.
and bring it into what we're talking about here. So Mark just talked about forgiveness and the pain of forgiveness and the pain in not forgiving, and then also about gratitude. And so, these things cause some inner turmoil for us that, they can actually result in us having physical pain. They can result in us having mental pain. We can have migraines or all sorts of stuff like that. So, so the question is focusing on the future or the past, or holding on to being hurt diminish your peace? And that's a really interesting thought, isn't it? I mean, you're only living right here. Well, it's gone. Oh, come on. So it's always like we're living in the future or we're living in the past, but the reality is we're right here. It's always moving, right? And so if we only focus on the future and we haven't experienced it yet, there's usually a lot of fear involved in that if you're focusing on that. And if we're only focused on the past, there's always a lot of regret. Oh, I should have done, I could have done, I would have done, blah, 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 blah. So, and that's a lot of turmoil. So between focusing on the future and the past, well, there's not a lot of peace to be had there. It's a kind of like a washing machine just pushing us back and forth because we never get a chance to really hold on to now. So there is a way to help us so that we can move out of those kinds of triggers and into a place where we disrupt or experience something that will give us more energy and freedom. And that is in letting go of only focusing on the past and future. So how do we do that? Well, one of the easiest ways to do it is through sense of smell. It pulls you immediately into now, and you can add meditation, you can add these wonderful affirmations. And right now, doTERRA is having this incredible sale of a variety of fantastic mood and mind kit possibilities for you. And they will all help. And so we're just going to I'm going to briefly go over these because this is month 3. So we talked about month 1 and month 2 and what's in those. And you can do this for 3 months. You can opt out anytime you want. You can buy these individually, but just know that this will give you a whole set to help you move into and out of only focusing past and only focusing on future. When we only focus on the past, we usually are not forgiving ourselves. When we're only focusing on the future, we're afraid to move forward into it. So these things can help us calm. They can help us focus. They can help us remember where we are. And also with something like Serenity, they help us sleep. So we get a great amount of sleep. We get an opportunity to ground ourselves with ones like balance. And then, we have this mini body butter that we can put any of those flavors in and just kind of like put it on our hands or our feet, or let somebody else do that for us. So they're going to help us to just, connect with ourselves and stay present. Because guess where gratitude is? Gratitude is only in the present. That's a big surprise, but that is the freeing agent, is that gratitude.
I have a big smile on my face because as I was reading that list and hearing you talk about it, I just have these flashbacks of smelling some of those oils.
Yeah.
And especially at the times when I'm kind of like not present and I'm worried about the future or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. I take a whiff of that and just brings me right back.
And of course you have to want it, right? You have to decide that you're going to stay there. It will do it, period. But you're going to have to make the decision about staying present.
Absolutely.
Staying now. So when if you want to have the time and strength that you've never known before, then you need to let go of all of those things that are holding you down, whether they're the fear of the future or the regrets of the past. When we're focused on either of those things, they hold us down. They'll be like, pulling on us all the time. Or sometimes we might think we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, or that we're so angry in our stomach, or our heart feels like it's going to break, or we can't breathe because we have so much grief, right? So all of those things hold us back from having just amazing amounts of energy. Yeah, real life energy. And so if we take on this, you can choose something that is formulated to evoke feelings that will allow you more easily to forgive. Now that might sound impossible, but that's the awesomeness of aromatherapy, is putting together certain kinds of oils that are going to make it easier for you to have that disrupting experience, to experience the opportunity of having the extra support so that you can let go of the past and let go of that. And then with peace, you can let go of the future, right?
Right.
And so if you're letting go of the past and you're forgiving and you're letting go of the future, guess where you are? Right here again, right here, right here. And that is what you can, and when you do that, you'll release all of those other things.
And some of these concepts we've talked about are kind of counterintuitive, and it's not something that we naturally fall into. So having this extra support of being able to stay
That's
present,
true. That's true.
and being able to really focus and implement and try some of these things out is such a benefit.
Right. So you're going to leave behind the past, you're going to have gratitude for each day, and you're going to gain power for the future. Because once you let go of the fear and you hold on to the exhilaration and the hope of the future, right? That wonderful, wonderful peacefulness of the hope and the, I don't know, the excitement of it. It's all about these things. The self-forgiveness equals a personal freedom. You don't have to carry it anymore, not one day more. You know, for us, it's going to God and letting it go, right? And that's super important. And gratitude, same thing. Giving it to God, thanking God for our lives, for my life, and then living each day with that gratitude that this is a gift. This is a gift. It's magic, isn't it? It's magic when we start to do these things. And the magic is in us allowing, I say, your higher power. And for me, that's God. But you're allowing your higher power to kind of partner with you, to let go of all of this, and then use what we have, these gifts of the earth, to give us mind and mood support. So we have no regrets. We have no fears anymore. Your energy is just going to jettison. It will just go through the ceiling. When you let go and you stop worrying, you put those two together, it is a powerful, powerful punch.
You're really able to take that energy and focus it and accomplish so much more than you could
Exactly.
otherwise. Yeah.
And then that's why we talk about this book all the time too, because it's another one of these incredible tools so that you can put this all together. So you can use your oils and you can read these books and you can listen to the ideas in them and you can incorporate them. And because you're letting go of the past and not worrying about the future, you'll have the courage to do something. And when you have the courage, you'll find the time. It's awesome. And then you can start making these little changes and become, your finest.
So,
yeah,
absolutely.
Right. And so we invite you to read Mark's book. There's a lot of research that's gone behind it. It's his research over 7 years of talking to experts in the field. And you're going to find out how to help yourself move through all of this. So before we say thank you for the end, remember, you can join us and be a team member. And if you're on our team and you purchase essential oils with us and be part of our team, then all of these classes that we're doing every week will be free to you. And you'll be able to look through them anytime you want. We'll be doing these consistently throughout the year. And you can have these teachable for you, and you can personalize it by allowing the opportunity for us to talk with you, answer questions as we can. We really want to be involved in your life in a way that helps you grow and move into your real self, and to have the next best 30 years, right? Wherever you are. So thank you. We appreciate your being here.
Thank you very much. We so appreciate the opportunity to share these ideas with you and to hear your feedback and your experiences. It's so rewarding to us to be on this journey with you on this wonderful road.
So true. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can't find your stuff. Did I end it? I don't think so. We can just take it off.